Hi, this is Bill for SparkyChannel.com, and here we are at the 2019 Ideal National Championship. This is round 2, and we're going to pick up the action right where the parallel EMT bending starts. You see the box on the left. That's called an electrical wireway. 4 pieces of EMT will start from that long, narrow box on the left, and they're going to have to all simultaneously jump over the 2 pipes in the middle, and then they're all going to have to make right angle bends, we call them stubs, up to the smaller box. This is Greg Anliker. He is the gentleman that won first place for the professional division, and he won $75,000 this year. He also took first place last year, and he won $75,000 last year. You get the idea. This is the pro's pro right here. He's the one to beat. He's really, really a good electrician. Each conduit is going to need to receive 4 30-degree bends to jump over the 2 pipes on the wall. And so he's making the marks right now, and these marks are all identical. He's also written on his wall various measurements and calculations. Now, this is Seth Agnew. This is the gentleman that took second place overall this year, and he won $25,000. We'll be checking in on him a couple times during the contest to see how he's doing. Greg's still working on his marks. And if you look down the line, you see everyone's working very, very hard. Everyone's trying to win that $75,000, or the $25,000 for second place, or the $10,000 for third place. These measurements and calculations are critical. They must be fairly exact. The bends must be exact, and it has to look good once it's up on the wall. I wonder who's going to be competing with Greg. There may be a surprise contestant. Oh, there he is! There he is! There's Sparky! Sparky wants in on the contest! He knows he can't win the $75,000, but why not? He set up his own board, just like theirs. And here he goes. Here's the first bend. And up in the upper right-hand corner, that's Michael Fox, another professional electrician. And he's going to be in this competition too. So Greg has made his first bend there, and he's making his second bend. He's making a second bend, and Sparky is making his second bend. Michael Fox is making his bends up in the air. Okay, so Sparky and Greg are using the same techniques. Michael Fox is using an up in the air technique for the earlier bends, and Sparky and Greg are using the floor bending techniques. We'll check in on Michael a little later. We'll keep him on the same exact timeline. Okay, now here is Greg for his second set of bends. He's already taken a lead over Sparky. Now he's aligning his handle with the EMT and giving it another 30-degree bend. So in this way, he can increase his production and speed. So he's putting his bender on the EMT, and Sparky's doing the same thing now. There's a couple differences between Sparky's work and Greg's work, in that Sparky will be using 1/2-inch EMT and Greg will be using 3/4-inch EMT. Neither contestant is going to need to make box offset bends to go into a box. It'll just go straight into a box, because Greg's will be on something called struts. I'll show you in a minute, and Sparky will just be running his EMT into fittings. Greg's already got 3 of these double bends made. Those are all 30-degree bends, and Sparky's just going as fast as he can. There, he's a little behind Greg already, but it's hard for anybody to keep up with Greg, believe me. But Sparky's giving it a try. He's not scared. Okay, here's Seth, and he's got a bend going on. He's got his own technique there. He's on the floor and he's looking at it, and Sparky's making his second bend, and it looks like in the 4th pipe. So Sparky's making pretty good time as well. So Seth's going to be putting his pipe up on the wall to see how it does. If you notice, neither Greg or Sparky will ever do that. They are going to make all their bends and have all their calculations done before ever touching the conduit to go up onto the wall. There will be no testing with these two gentlemen here. There's going to be no testing first. It's your calculations are right, and you got to have confidence in them. Greg already has his first 4-point saddle bend done. He's going to check it out, see if it's straight. He's going to give it a little bend. Sparky is going to start making the third and the fourth bends for each of the 4-point saddle bends. He's going to make the third and the fourth bends up in the air. And it's really, really important to get these bends lined up and make your bends good. If you don't make them good, you got to mess around with them on the floor. You got to lose time. It still might come out just fine, but look at Greg go. Look at him go. He's almost got his second 4-point saddle bend done. One more. Look, he's going to line it up. He's got a technique where he's got the conduit on his shoulder, and he's going to bend it down, and that's his second 4-point saddle bend. If you check this one out, that one, you put it down on the ground, and you want it to sit nice and flat. So both these guys are messing around right now, trying to get their pipe straight. The thing to do is to bend them perfectly the first time, then you don't got to mess with them. But it's not really that easy, you know. So here's Greg. He's working on his third 4-point saddle bend, and he's got the conduit on his shoulder. He's sighting it straight down, and there is the third 30-degree bend on that particular pipe. You flip it around. What's called the hook of the bender is facing the middle of this 4-point saddle bend. And here's Greg looking, sights right down. You can see it that way and see that the conduit is nice and straight. So he knows that one's straight. He's going to put it down. And now he's working on his fourth 4-point saddle bend. And it looks like Sparky is working on his second 4-point saddle bend. He's got his foot on the bender. That's an important point. You see, both Sparky and Greg have their foot at the base of the bender to stabilize it so it won't move, so it won't slip. Watch Greg put his foot on the bender. It's a very important point. Look, he's sighting right down. He's got the conduit on his shoulder. He's down on one knee and really sights it. The straighter you can get those the first time, the more time you're going to save. And Sparky is a little off on that bend. He's going to fix it. Let's check in on Michael again. He's up in the upper left-hand corner. He's making some measurements. In the meantime, Greg has looked at the figures on his wall, and that's how he knows how to put the star of his bender on his EMT, and now he's making a 90-degree stub. Okay, now he's going to look at the wall again where he's got his figure written, and that's going to tell him where to cut the pipe. You see, he's never taken that pipe and putting it on the board or on the wall to see if it fits or anything like that. It's all done by calculation. Now he's going to get his hacksaw. There's one advantage that Sparky's going to have over Greg. He has a bandsaw, but Greg has a hacksaw. And so Greg's going to be putting his EMT in the head of his bender, and he has already cut his stuff, just like that. Okay, so now he's got to ream the pipe. He's going to take his pliers and ream the pipe, and he'll go around the outside to ream the outside, and the inside to ream the inside. Now Greg will put some fittings on the long narrow box on the left, and this is something that Sparky doesn't have to do, so we'll subtract off whatever time it takes Greg to do this off his overall time at the end. Let's give Sparky center stage here for a moment. He's doing a 4-point saddle bend, and let's see if he got this one straight. Put down. That looks pretty good. That looks pretty good. All right, check it out. Right on the money. Okay, so that's 3 4-point saddle bends, and now Sparky's going to go for his fourth 4-point saddle bend. And notice the hook is facing towards the middle of the bend. And you put it right on the mark. You put your arrow of the bender right on the mark. Stand back. It's a very important step, actually. And get it nice and straight. Put your foot on the bender and give it a 30-degree bend. And here's Michael on center stage. So he's made his first 30-degree bend. He's going to apparently make them all up in the air. He's got it on his shoulder, getting it nice and straight. And now he's bent. He didn't put his foot on the bender, but it's a nice bend. It looks like a nice 30-degree bend. Going to switch it around. Michael has a different technique than Sparky and Greg, which is really neat in an event like this. You get to see how other electricians do it. So, okay, now lining these things up is very, very important. So he likes the way he's lined it up, and this technique is different than what I'm used to. But that's another 30-degree bend. That's very good. And he may be bending it on the star. I'd have to ask him. Okay, here's the next 30-degree bend. He's gone a little beyond it. Yeah, he did. He's going to bend it back. Here's Seth. He's working on the floor, getting his conduits ready. And here's Greg. He's doing something very interesting, which is making marks on his struts. Every 2 inches, the conduits are supposed to be 2 inches apart, level and plumb. And why not make marks on the struts? The more guidance you have of where to put your conduits, the better. So let's see how Sparky's working on his first stub. He's got his measurement where he wants to make his first 90-degree stub bend. And here goes Greg. He's putting up the first conduit. It looks good. It looks nice and level and plumb. And he's putting it in the fittings. Having a little trouble. And here's Sparky. He's going to put his star on the mark, and he's going to make a 90-degree stub. Now, it's really important to make this exactly 90 degrees, and you got to put it right on your mark. Those are two very important concepts. So here's Seth. So he's working hard. You can see he's got one very nice 4-point saddle bend already prepared. And there's Sparky. He's made a stub. And now he's going to take his tape and he's going to measure down to the ground. That will get his measurement to the back of the bend. You want to measure from the back of the bend to your mark and make a mark on your conduit. And Greg's doing the same thing. He's using his tape measure going to the floor. He made a mark on his conduit, and now he's going to take his hacksaw and cut it. And Sparky's doing the same thing, except he's using a bandsaw. So here we go. Greg has cut the conduit with the hacksaw, and Sparky has cut it with a bandsaw. And now Sparky is using a reamer while Greg is using pliers. And now Sparky's getting his first conduit up on the wall while Greg is putting his second conduit up on the wall. Greg is fastening down his second conduit while Sparky is working on his first conduit. So Sparky better pick up the pace or Greg's really going to leave him behind. So here we go. Sparky looks like he's got a good one there. And so here goes Greg on the third one. He's grabbing his tape, looking at his wall, getting the measurement. And that's a measurement to the back of the bend. Now he's taking his bender, he's putting the star on the EMT, and boom, he's got a 90-degree stub, just like that. Now he's going to look at his wall for the next measurement, and he's going to run his tape right down to the floor, which gives him the measurement of this conduit, and it's actually 2 inches longer than the previous one, and he's cutting it off. Boy, Greg is really going fast right now. So Sparky is measuring out the length of his second conduit, and Greg is going to go ahead and ream his conduit where he made the cut. It's not necessary to ream the factory end, only the end where you've made the cut. So now he's grabbed his third EMT conduit, and he's putting it in place. And let's see, what is Sparky doing? Okay, Sparky's got his bender out, and he's ready to bend a 90-degree stub on his second EMT conduit. Now Greg grabs his fourth piece of EMT conduit, and he looks at his board, finds his measurement, and each of these measurements is 2 inches longer to the back of the bend than the previous one. So he's got this all calculated and written down on his wall. So he's got a mark there. He's going to put the star of his bender right on the mark. Sparky just made a nice stub there, and Greg already has this 90-degree stub done. Now, for the stub length, he's got that written down on the wall as well, and that's 2 inches longer than the previous one, which was 2 inches longer than that previous one, and 2 inches longer than that previous one. So now he's going to make a cut on his EMT conduit, and there it is. It's already cut. Okay, Sparky's going to grab his reamer and ream out his stub, and at the same moment, Greg is using his pliers as a reamer, and he's got that done. And look at this, both of them are putting up conduits at the same time. However, Sparky's putting up his second one when Greg is putting up his fourth one. Okay, so both of them are tightening down the fittings right at the same time. And now Greg is going to be working on putting the straps on his struts. So his pipes are up on what's called struts, and so now he's going to be strapping them down to the struts. And Sparky is working on getting things level and plumb. Okay, Sparky's working on conduit number 3 while Greg is strapping down his conduits. I really enjoy watching Greg work. He's really a master electrician in the true sense of the word. He had to compete in a number of different areas of electrical proficiency in order to win this contest, not just EMT bending. That's just one of the 4 rounds that got him the win. Okay, here's Seth here, and he doesn't have any conduits up on the wall yet. He's making marks and measuring. And okay, Greg's tightening down his second set of straps. And you look down the line here, everyone's working very hard. One gentleman had 4 conduits up, one had 1 up, this gentleman has 1 up, and the guy beyond him doesn't have any up yet. So there's a variety of different situations going on. Seth's looking at his board again, and here's Greg. He's putting on the 4th strap on his second strut. And now he's going to pull him a little bit and trying to get him just right. Oops, he had a screw come out. He's going to have to fix that. And let's see what Sparky's doing. Okay, Sparky just cut his 3rd stub, and he's going to ream it out. and he's going to be putting his third piece of conduit up on his wall. So Greg is working hard, and he's going to try to put that screw back in. It popped out when he was tugging on his conduits. So Sparky is getting his third conduit in place. Checking for level and plumb. And Greg's getting very close to being done. He's checking out, making sure he's got everything where he wants it, so it looks good for the judges. He's tugging on one of them, and he's looking it over, he's tightening it back down. And let's see, a few finishing touches. And here it comes. He hits the timer, he's done. Greg's done. Okay, here's Sparky. Let's check out his work. He's got 3 conduits up on the board. He's measuring out for a 4th. And he makes a mark. This is where the stub's going to be. And here we have Mike again. Mike is checking out his conduits down on the floor, measuring them, and making sure they all line up with each other. Sparky's going to put the star of his bender on his mark on the 4th conduit, and he'll be making his 4th 90-degree stub. It has to be perpendicular. It has to be just right. You have to sight it and make sure it's just right. And here comes a 90-degree stub. Let's see how close to 90 degrees he gets. You actually have to go about 2 degrees beyond the 90, and then it springs back to the actual 90 degrees. So that looks like a pretty good bend there. Now he's going to make the cut on his stub. And here we have Michael on center stage. And he's looking at his stubs, I believe. Yeah, he's going to cut his stub off. At the same time, Sparky is cutting off his last stub with his bandsaw. Okay, and now he's going to ream out the cut. And Michael is using a hacksaw, so that is an advantage that Sparky has. He has a bandsaw. Okay, so Sparky's going to put up his 4th and final EMT conduit onto the wall. Michael has all 4 of his conduits lined up and ready to go up onto the wall. Now Mike has his first conduit up, and he may be able to pick up some time on Sparky here due to having his conduits all ready to go. If you look down the line, you see everyone's still working very, very hard. And here's Michael already ready to go with his second conduit. Now he's putting it up, and he's going to see where he's going to be cutting the conduit. He's going to go ahead and mark that. Now that's a difference between Michael's technique and Sparky's and Greg's technique, where their calculations were already done and there was no putting the conduit up on the wall to see where to cut it. It was all done by calculations by both Greg and Sparky. It looks like Sparky is putting his straps on his conduits and tightening them down, and Mike is cutting his EMT and reaming it out, and he's going to have to put a fitting on the EMT. Now that's a different technique than Greg used. Greg put the fittings on the boxes first, and Mike put them on second. It's just a different technique. It turns out the same. This seems like a pretty close contest between Michael and Sparky. Now Michael's going to be getting a time credit because he's having to attach the fittings to the box. Now Sparky has to attach his fittings to the conduit in a similar manner, but he didn't have a box to have to put the fitting onto. So Michael will be getting a time credit at the end of this. The time is 10% of the scoring by the judges. And guess who's going to be the judges? You, the viewers, are going to judge these three competitors, and you're going to decide who you think won and so forth and so on. But there's going to be a time credit for both Greg and Michael for putting the fittings on the boxes, which Sparky didn't have to do. His fittings were already on the wall. He had to attach his conduit to the fittings, but he didn't have to put the fittings on a box. Sparky's kind of on a budget a little bit. He can't be buying boxes and so forth right now. But all the bends are the same. Another very important part of judging these ideal contests is safety. The workers must work in a safe manner at all times, and in the case of bending conduit, that conduit bender has to be under complete control and so forth. Sparky is putting on his second set of straps onto his conduit. So now Mike has 3 conduits up on the wall, and he's going to get a measurement for his 4th one. Sparky's looking over his work, and he's decided he's going to put 3 sets of straps on his conduits. This is exceeding code. For code, you would only need to put 2 sets of straps, but you can always exceed code if you want. Might be a good idea in areas like California where there's earthquakes down there, or Florida where there's hurricanes sometimes. Okay, Mike's got his 4th conduit going up on the wall. There you go. And Sparky's putting on his 3rd set of straps onto his conduit. And now Michael's going to be getting his straps that go on struts. He has a different kind of straps than Sparky. So Michael's attaching his first set there. And so Sparky's putting on his 3rd set of straps. Trying to get everything look real nice for the judges, which in this case are the viewers. So there we go. He's got all 3 sets of straps on there. And now, oh, look what he's got. He's got some orange cleaner. He's going to clean off his pencil marks. Okay, so another thing that you judge the contestants on is the neatness and professionalism of the work and the neatness of their workspace. This isn't just for looks. Sometimes the neatness of the workspace has to do with safety, so you're not stepping on a piece of pipe and tripping or something like that. So keep those items in mind for the judging as well. So Sparky's cleaning away, and he's looking it over and says, oh, here's a little spot that needs to be cleaned. And Michael's tightening up his straps on his struts. Okay, Michael's starting on his 2nd set of straps. And let's look it over one time, and Sparky's done! Sparky's done! Okay, here's Michael here. He's putting on his second set of straps on his struts. Going just as fast as he can. And look down the line. Most of the guys are still working. Some of them are done, but most of them are still working. I really want to compliment all the contestants that were able to get to this contest, because they had to win difficult contests in each of their states in order to arrive here. There's only basically one contestant per state that makes it here. So these are really good electricians. Michael's putting on his last strap now and tightening everything up, and his work is looking very nice. He's got the four-point saddle bends looking well, and his 90-degree stubs look good. And he's tightening it down. And look, that's it. That's it. He's done. And now it's time for the judging by you, the viewers. This is Greg's work. And please subtract 3 minutes from the time of both Greg and Michael in relation to Sparky, because Sparky didn't have to put the fittings on the boxes. Remember, time accounts for 10% of the total score. So here's Greg's work. You see, we've got some very nice bends, well strapped, and there it goes to the box. And let's take another look at it. Come down, got good distance between the pipes, and that looks pretty good there, pretty good. And here's the 4-point saddle bend, jumping over the obstacles, and there's some more straps, and there it goes back to the box. Here's Michael's work. You see the 4 EMT conduits coming out of the box, and then it goes to the strut with the 4 straps on it, and then there's 4-point saddle bands jumping over the obstacle. And here's Michael's right ankle bands, and then there's 4 more straps, and it goes right up to the box. And here's Sparky's work. He hooked into some fittings, and now he's jumping over the obstruction with 4-point saddle bends, and notice he has an extra set of straps. And here he's running the conduit up to fittings. Here's the 4-point saddle bends. Here's Greg's 4-point saddle bends, and here are Michael's 4-point saddle bends. So write in the comments section who you thought won and why. And I'd like to really thank both Greg and Michael for being very great sports and helping us all to learn these great techniques. I'll put links in my video description for the Ideal 3/4 inch ductile iron EMT bender with handle. I'll also put links for the Ideal ductile iron 1 inch and 1/2 inch EMT benders, and I'll put links for the Ideal aluminum benders in the same sizes. And I'll put links for 4 different brands of mini bandsaws. These all have 2.5 inch cutting capacity. The Bosch and the Makita are the lightest ones, the Bosch being 8.8 pounds without a battery, the Makita 9.0 pounds with a battery. But they're all excellent, and check them out in my video description if you're interested. Now, here's some random sightseeing with just a couple minutes left to go in the competition.
Good stuff, great. Once we're done, wrap up, chit chat, and then we'll go to the announcement slide for that say, I'm very confident. There we'll go to the sponsor videos.
Nice, man.